concern. For besides things which can never be objects of experience, if they were to be cognized as to their nature, would oblige us to have recourse to concepts whose meanings could never be given in concreto by any example of possible experience. Consequently, we would have to form for ourselves a list of concepts of their nature, the reality whereof, i.e. whether they actually referred to objects or were mere creations of thought, could never be determined. The cognition of what cannot be an object of experience would be hyperphysical, and with things hyperphysical, we are here not concerned, but only with the cognition of nature, the actuality of which can be confirmed by experience. Though this cognition is possible a priori and precedes all experience. The formal aspect of nature in this narrower sense is therefore the conformity to law of all the objects of experience, and so far it is cognized a priori, their necessary conformity. But it has been shown that the laws of nature can never be cognized a priori in objects so far as they are considered, not in reference to possible experience, but as things in themselves. And our inquiry here extends not to things in themselves, the properties of which we pass by, but to things as objects of possible experience, and the totality of these is properly what we here call nature. And now I ask, when the possibility of cognition of nature a priori is in question, whether it is better to arrange the problem thus: how can we cognize a priori that things as objects of experience necessarily conform to law? Or thus, how is it possible to cognize a priori that the necessary conformity to law of experience itself as regards all its objects generally? Closely considered, the solution of the question represented in either way amounts, with regard to the pure cognition of nature, which is the point of the question at issue, entirely to the same thing. For the subjective laws, under which alone an empirical cognition of things is possible, hold good of these things as objects of possible experience, not as things in themselves, which are not considered here. Either of the following statements means quite the same. A judgment of perception can never rank as experience without law that, whenever an event is observed, it is always referred to some antecedent, which it follows according to a universal rule, or else everything of which experience teaches that it happens must have a cause. It is, however, more convenient to choose the first formula, for we can a priori and before all given objects have a cognition of those conditions on which alone experience of them is possible, but never of the laws to which things may in themselves be subject without reference to possible experience. We cannot, therefore, study the nature of things a priori otherwise than by investigating the conditions of the universal, though subjective, under which alone such a cognition as experience as to mere form is possible, and we determine accordingly the possibility of things as objects of experience. For if I should choose the second formula and seek the a priori conditions under which nature as an object of experience is possible, I might easily fall error and fancy that I was speaking of nature as a thing in itself, and then move around in endless circles in a vain search for laws concerning things of which nothing is given me.